to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly
and
Tyler Hymanson.
And we are very excited this week to have a special guest, a special returning guest. Daniel Freedman is here with us. You may remember him from a previous episode, but yeah, thanks for being here, Daniel.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back. It was Highlander Endgame last time,
yes.
And it's Phantasm. Was it
Lord of the Dead?
Lord of the Dead.
Lord
of the Dead.
Lord of the Dead.
Lord of the Dead.
Daniel has been keeping busy. His latest graphic novel, just published in June, is out on store shelves now, called Raiders. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, Daniel.
Thank you. It's been an interesting time to release a book, to say the least.
Daniel, tell some of our readers what the book is about. Give them a little elevator pitch so they get excited to go pick it up.
Yeah. So Raiders is a new fantasy book out from Dark Horse. It's a graphic novel, so you get the whole thing in one book. And the story follows two working class dungeon raiders just trying to eke out a living in a very corrupted fantasy world. Anyone who likes D&D, Game of Thrones, Dark Souls, Diablo, or any other dungeon raiding fiction, I think we'll find something to enjoy.
I think that there might be some crossover with some Phantasm fans, or at least some of these horror fans. As we're talking about Phantasm III, Lord of the Dead. Justin, do you have a trailer for us, or do we have some other stuff, housekeeping we got to do up front?
We got a little bit of housekeeping first. So Eliz, take it away.
Yeah. You can email us at sequelrights@gmail.com with your suggestions for future franchises. This is the halfway point of Phantasm, so yeah, we'll need something soon. And also you can reach out to us on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you do get your podcasts. It is a great way to show your support and actually helps us out a lot. So we appreciate it.
That's right. And along with Daniel, we have another returning guest this week. Take it away, definition guy.
Phantasm. The delusion of a disordered mind. A phantom. A spirit. A ghost. For most of his life, a young man has been pursued by a sinister force. Now he must learn the secret of the ultimate evil.
Now it is time for you to come back to me.
I actually think Definition Guy has been a different voice every week.
I think he has.
I don't know why they just keep using that definition, because it's really not related.
I know. I like that every single trailer has started with that so far. It's pretty funny.
I guess they just were like, I can just see the marketing people being like, people don't know what a phantasm is. You gotta start the trailer with the definition. People don't know what that is. I don't care that it's the third movie.
Yeah, but definition. Sir, there's no ghosts in the movie. I don't care. Just read the definition like I wrote it.
So, I mean, this movie, just like all the other previous ones in the series, starts exactly where the other one left off, with some reshot footage.
Recap.
This is, I'm really starting to enjoy the wild, like retconning and just like totally like fucking over the previous movie to start a new movie that these films have been doing so far.
And twice it's just, oh, Reggie's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Reggie's fine.
He looks 10 years older, but ignore that.
Yeah.
And I love how they edited it together for Mike in the hearse of just being a completely different actor.
Yeah. They got rid of Beefcake McGee or whoever that guy was, and they brought back original Mike.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was looking at him and I said, oh, he actually looks a lot closer to the kid. Like, that's better casting. And I went, oh. And I looked at the IMDb. That is
the kid. I also think that, we based on what we see what happens here, I think Eliz made a great correct prediction at the end of last week that Liz was just going to probably be dead or something.
Boring.
She gets her face eaten by a Jawa.
Yeah. She gets totally annihilated. Oh, it's pretty gross. Killed off screen.
There are some fun zombies in this movie, gotta say.
Yeah.
Also a weird Home Alone kid.
They moved away from the Jawas and more into like zombies and more balls.
More balls.
More balls
behind
and more
the Jawas.
And more ball jokes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But before we get too deep into it, I think we should talk to Daniel about what his experience with the Phantasm franchise is.
Yes.
And kind of where he's at, kind of jumping into the third one here.
Yeah. So I kind of like grew up on these movies. I found them at least the first three as a kid, probably too young, but like 12, 13, 14 in that area. But they played really well to me when I was 12, 13, 14. They were super fun. And so the only one I've rewatched in recent memory is the first one. And the first one is awesome. It has its charms, and it's cool, and the music's great. And I think the first one works pretty well. It holds up pretty well. It looks great. And I really still enjoyed it. So then now I just rewatched the third movie, and it's the memories are coming back, and they're not as sweet. There's a lot in it that I like. As for it being like successful, even in what it is, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. Like, let's just dive in because there's so much to.
Yeah, it's like, well, and having those memories of watching it when you're 13, because I don't necessarily remember seeing it then. It was later. But like it does. The one thing that I will say, well, this is a good avenue into getting into Lord of the Dead, is that I'm happy that they actually brought a kid back into it. Even though it felt a little bit forced, that's a lot of what's successful about the first movie, and having this kid kind of roving around this horror movie and doing really cool, like, you know, him blowing up the door lock on his bedroom door and everything else, like doing fun stuff. This is a little bit more extreme than that, and a little bit more shoehorned.
This kid is a straight up murderer.
It does feel a lot more murder.
Where does it fall in the Home Alone timeline?
It's 1994 this movie came out, so
that's before Home Alone.
Oh, that's after Home Alone.
After, okay.
Yeah, I think Home Alone's
because
92?
I wrote down like, what if Home Alone but murder?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, Home Alone was 90.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they were like, bring a kid, we're gonna do the Home Alone thing, but we're really gonna kill them.
Yeah.
Which was great. I love all of that stuff. The only thing better would have if we had got to see him set it all up in a montage.
Oh my god, yeah.
How we get to this is kind of insane, right? So it starts exactly where the last movie left off, where what's her face? What was her name?
Liz.
No, not Liz. The other girl.
Oh.
Alchemy.
Alchemy has transformed. She has stabbed Reggie. He is ejected. A lot of people just ejected from cars in these movies.
Yeah.
They can just leap free. And then the car blows up, but Liz is being consumed. And now I'm forgetting the kid's name. Mike is unconscious, and the tall man's about to take him because he wants him. He's special now for some reason. But Reggie has some sort of techno grenade on top of him in his pocket. He had the whole time. It's not just a regular grenade. It has a blinking red light on it.
It's got
somehow.
a switch. Yeah.
You pull the pin and flick the switch.
Yeah.
He also
one of those safety
foolproof
grenades.
system. Yeah.
Yeah. He also miraculously still has the 4-barreled shotgun that
which he just threw away in the last movie.
Exactly.
100% he left it in the burning monument.
He definitely did. But he gets to do that amazing thing where like the Jawa people are like up in the trees.
Oh, that was great.
And he just shoots up, and then it's just like these 4 sacks falling down, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So funny.
So yeah, he says to the tall man, like, if you're going to take him, we're going to blow ourselves up or whatever. And the tall man's like, fine, I'll wait. And then he leaves.
Yeah. I'll just get him later. Whatever.
Yeah. I was going to ask you guys if in the second movie they clarified why Mike was special to the tall man.
No.
They just seem to have some sort of psychic powers.
Yeah.
psychic connection between him and Liz, and that was why they were special, but they didn't really explain anything specific.
And he was still trying to kill him pretty hard in the first two movies.
Yeah. There's not all the weird stuff that we get into in this movie towards the end. Yeah.
Oh, what are you talking about? What's weird?
Oh, no, I don't know. It's still confusing.
So Mike's what, in the hospital?
Yeah.
He's real fucked up, I guess.
He's
but
in,
like
coma.
more fucked up than he looked in the previous scene because he's hooked up to all the machines.
And he's supposed to be in a coma for like 10 years? Or 2 years? 2 years.
I think it's 2 years.
And in those 2 years, Reggie just goes back to selling ice cream, I guess. Because like life just seems to move on pretty quick from that traumatic evening where Liz got her face eaten and the tall man blew up and the
the beginning of the second movie had Reggie having a whole family, like a wife and kids that get blown up.
I'm glad that they acknowledged that he had a wife and kid in this one. They were like, don't forget, my wife and kid are dead.
They do show a photo of them,
yeah.
Which I gotta say was actually like a really tasteful way of handling that. No dialogue. I was like, hats off, Phantasm 3. Like, you didn't need to oversell or over-explain.
All you need is a nosy child who's going to dig through your bag.
Yep.
So there's a lot of like dream sharing, right?
Oh, yes. This movie was the movie that cemented that Hideo Kojima loves the Phantasm series. I'm almost certain of it. Because they all go to Reggie's beach in this movie.
They do, yeah. But, but Mike first has that glimpse at heaven or wherever he is.
Yeah, so we see Jody's ghost, which has aged.
Yeah, there's this amazing moment where like, Mike is like heading towards the light and he sees Jody and you'd think that like there'd be this really enthusiastic like, oh my God, it's Jody, wow, and then they're gonna be emotional, but instead it's like this.
Jody? Yeah, it's me, little brother.
Yeah. Yeah, it's me.
My favorite part was when Reggie saw Jody for the first time and he's like, what the hell are you doing here? You're dead.
I know the lines are never said with quite the right emotional.
Which version of this movie did you guys watch?
There's more than one?
Well, I just asked if you got the version. You got the version where Jody was Hayden Christensen.
Sadly, no.
Where they edited him back in, yeah.
No, just just the regular one.
Well, Ghost Age, that's fun. That's a fun fact about the afterlife.
But yeah, Mike wakes up from that like stint in the afterlife, and he's being attacked by some crazy, gross
zombie
lady. Yeah.
Zombie nurse, yeah.
Also, who seems fairly intent on killing him. Oh wait, actually, I just put it all together. She's using that same tool that the tall man uses at the end, not to jump ahead. Okay. Yeah. It all makes sense, guys. It all makes perfect sense.
You had to get 2 years to embed the zombie nurse so she could have the right tools with the right chemicals.
So wait, then what happens to him? Because he leaves again. He gets taken into
the dream world, I guess.
I don't remember. I
can't even remember.
It feels like that this is something that was edited around. It seems like that there was something that was actually supposed to happen and they didn't quite get it, because then it just cuts to like Reggie's on the road.
Yeah. But where did Mike get taken away? I can't even remember.
Oh, because they go. So Reggie shows up at the hospital, which I thought was really funny. He shows up and walks in the room like, everything's cool, right? And the nurse is like, uh-huh. And he walks in the room and Mike is being attacked and he's like, what the fuck? And they fight off that lady, and then they go back to Reggie's house or whatever, right? And then the tall man appears at Reggie's house.
He just comes into his living room.
He just comes into the living room through one of the, apparently now those dimensional forks or whatever they're called can just appear anywhere. He can use them. He can use them to, he can use them to really,
sure fucked up my hallway.
Fuck up Reggie's hallway.
Oh, wow. That's what the homeowner said, that the house they rented.
Yeah, exactly.
When they burned the floor.
And this is where we have all the weird stuff with Jody, where he's like, Jody's there, and then he turns into one of the spheres, and then the tall man like not crushes his sphere, but he like burns it or makes it break or something.
Yeah, the Jody sphere is like along for the mission here, but he's kind of like burned up and he needs time to like heal or something.
Yeah, it's like malfunctioning kind of.
Yeah.
But Mike gets taken
Reggie takes off to go look up more random towns.
Well, he's
looking for Mike, right? That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to track down Mike. The sphere tells him to go to some small town.
Yeah.
And so he hits the road, and you find out that the tall man has just come through each town, and and it's like kind of post-apocalyptic, except between the towns where there's still the old guy, grumpy guy at the gas station who's like, don't go to that town.
Yeah.
It happens like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, this was the second movie was all of that too. I did like when Reggie had...
I was going to say, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like when Reggie had his Mulan moment and he picked up like a little girl's doll to show that the town had been ravaged or whatever.
Yeah. In the second movie, the tall man was just a stand-in for gentrification. It was very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I will say that the effect of the ball coming out of the nurse's head was pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot that's what happens. Oh, my God. Yeah, that was a good effect. Really
and that's like the first time that we're introduced to the idea that the balls are in people's heads, because I don't think that was at all in the last movie.
No. Well, there was that one ball that went through the dude's spine and then shoved its way up out of his mouth. But
this is more making it seem like the ball is controlling the body. It's like really the ball is the entity. The ball is the entity, and the body is just like a puppet. Or
we see the tall man open a ball that has a brain in it, so now we know there's brains in the balls.
So I think we can assume that Jody's brain is in a ball. They also, I think the line he says is, "Turn the bodies into drones and the minds into killers."
Yes.
Yeah,
it sort of seems backwards, but
it was really confusing. That scene was like, we get a little bit more information, but also I'm like, it makes less sense.
Well, it makes even less sense because it's like, okay, did Jody die in a car accident, or did he get it taken at the mine and then put his brain in there? Like what? Like where did the tall man get Jody's brain?
Yeah, I don't know.
When did that happen?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I did like that the car crash that they cut back to was just like the chase scene from the previous movie.
Yeah. I love too that a lot of this movie is propelled by Reggie just trying to get laid or hitting on girls.
As usual.
It's the continuing adventures of Reggie.
Well, okay. I mean, we could talk about it, but like for the beginning of this movie, I was kind of like, maybe I was too hard on Reggie. Maybe he's not so bad. You know, like he doesn't really hit on that weird white lady at first. But then once we like meet Rocky, I was like, nope, I was right. Reggie is just a straight up rapist all the time. That's all he is. Keep him away from the children and the ice cream. I cannot see past this anymore. I refuse.
So what Elias is talking about is that there's a specific scene where Reggie goes and he's met up with Rocky, who is a ex-army black ninja nunchucking badass lady.
Yep.
With Tim, who's the other boy, and they're on the road. We'll get into like that introduction scene later, but to get to the creepiness, they pull up to this inn and or inn motel. And the guy's like, "Oh, we got like 3 rooms, like single beds or whatever, and we got 1 room with the queen." And he's like, "We'll take the the queen bed." Makes the kids sleep in the car.
And there's a whole like
be murdered, you know, like
yeah.
There's a whole jokey thing where like Rocky's like, "Oh, Tim, you can just come. We can make room for you in the car." And behind her, Reggie's like, "No, stop, don't go in."
It's supposed to be played for laughs, but it's just so gross.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
It's not great. And then they get into the bedroom, and Reggie's just like, "Come on, sleep in the bed with me. You should sleep in the bed. Why don't you sleep in the bed?"
And he's like touching her, and
and he keeps touching her, and then she finally, the only way to stop him is to act like she's seducing him and then handcuff him to the bed, which is just like so horrible that it has to come to that, like in order to get him to stop.
Right.
Reggie.
And then so she ostensibly hates him. Then they have sex in a dream sequence, and then like after the dream sequence sex, she seems to like kind of like him.
I don't know.
I don't think she ever came around to liking him.
I don't think she did.
She does say like, "Get away from my man."
She says, "My boy."
No, she says, "My boy."
My boy.
Yeah. She says, "Get away from my boy."
Yeah, like, you know, you guys are my boys. Like, that doesn't mean that I don't want a zombie to kill you.
It was more like a camaraderie
enough,
thing. Yeah, I didn't think she ever liked him either.
All right. Well, so we skipped over the Tim introduction here a little bit.
Let's go back to Timmy.
Oh my God, the Tim introduction is so great. We first get introduced to these three horrible people who I don't know where.
I've seen them referred to as redneck looters.
I don't know if they're even rednecks. I don't know.
Kind of just
and they're hardly looting.
Yeah. They look like a ripoff version of like the team from A Fish Called Wanda.
They look like characters out of some like side-scrolling NES game, like a beat 'em up NES game.
Well, they are kind of like the Goonies bad guys, like the robbers are trying to kill the kids, except like it's like.
But the one guy's got like a huge gold chain with a dollar sign. Like, who are these people? The other guy's dressed up like he's a pimp or something.
Rocksteady or Bebop before they got transformed.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they look like.
Yeah, I definitely want to see like the 5 Phantasm prequels just about these three people. It's so weird and random, and they make no sense. And then they get the best on Reggie real fast. They they knock him out and they steal his car, and then we find Timmy.
Yeah,
in what has to be one of the best sequences in the movie, because you're just like, what the fuck is? Because first of all, they pull up to this house that looks like all of the other like mortuaries that we've seen. So at first, and also there's like graves outside. You're thinking like, oh man, this must be where the tall man is. So clearly it's going to be like a bunch of, little Jawa creatures, lurking around in that house. And instead they go in the house and there's all this creepy clown stuff. And you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The clown. There's a clown that is thrown down some stairs that is adorned with multiple sharp knives.
Yeah, and the music is like going, like because you walk in and there's like these 2 people in rocking chairs, and even they have like clown costumes on when their heads get blown off.
Yeah,
it was great. You immediately figure out that this is not your standard Home Alone stuff. Like, he throws an axe directly into this woman's like forehead and instantly kills her. And he escapes. I liked the murder frisbee. That was a good one.
God, that was amazing.
The way he threw it was kind of insane, though, because it was basically this frisbee that had a bunch of razor blades on it, and then he like threw it vertically, and then it kind of came up and then sliced this dude like right across the neck perfectly.
Like boomerangs.
Yeah.
It was just so great because like the guy was holding a gun on him, and he's like, "I'm not messing around," and then the kid's like, "Oh yeah, well neither is this." Whoosh! And he throws it.
The only thing he was missing was a murder yo-yo of some kind.
Yeah. So funny.
And then he just has a gun. He's like an expert marksman, and then he just shoots the third guy.
Yeah, he lets him fall in a grave.
And the third guy falls into the pit.
Yeah.
He falls into the pit, and then they do the dramatic pull out to the super wide shot with the echoing gunshot as he executes this fucking guy.
Yeah, they're like, okay, I guess we can't show a kid shoot somebody in the head.
Yeah, the kid makes a booby trap that violates the Geneva Conventions and then executes a grown man after murdering 2 other people. And like, we don't necessarily even know like what has drawn him to this. It's like the tall man came through just like any other town.
Yeah, and then he explains.
I will say the flashback in the coffin with his dad was pretty good.
Yeah. He explains that like he's just been holed up in that house, like killing looters as they come by. That's what the multiple graves were before he got there.
We've seen a lot of particularly third movies where the male protagonist gets a kid sidekick seemingly out of nowhere lots of times. Like this happened to Braddock, this happened to Rambo, other ones that we saw. But I really liked this kid, and it was good because since there was a kid in the first one, it was, like you said, it was a return to form.
Yeah.
But I thought this kid was good and helped more than he hurt the movie.
It was just weird though, like because Reggie's just immediately like, okay, kid, like now we're just pretending like it's the first movie all over again. You're just a new kid.
Well, he did try to ditch him with a random orphanage lady.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was funny, but he always outsmarts Reggie, which is probably not hard to do. And then also he shows up multiple times, just like, dead eye shoot like things to save people's lives, which I think is really funny.
Not many movies have a straight up murder kid. Like,
that's right.
Yeah, or just a gun-toting kid. Like it's kind of rare to see a kid shooting people.
And it not being a joke and him not threatening. It's like it's not like I'll do it, and he's just like, nope, dead.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
He has bandoliers on. They don't get cut off.
But yeah, like I did also kind of like that scene that Tyler, you're talking about, where he explains like what happened in his town.
His dad was the sheriff.
Yeah, and his dad was the first one to die. And then they do this whole thing where he explains that like it was so funny when he's like sitting by the grave, like, I waited around and they never covered up the grave. And then his mom comes by like, oh, don't worry, Tim. They probably just forgot to do it. They'll do it tomorrow. And I'm like, that's pretty messed up. Yeah. Don't they do that like immediately after everyone leaves?
Yeah. They got tired of re-digging up all the graves, so they were just like, you know what? Just leave this one open. I'm tired of digging up.
They're going to just come back up anyway, whatever.
But it seemed like that was a throwback to the first movie as well, when the tall man lifts the coffin.
Yeah.
Except that they cut that part out of this one because
this time he just like forced.
Angus Scrim couldn't. He's 16 years older. He's probably.
He couldn't deadlift a coffin anymore.
Yeah, I did think that was funny because you see the coffin like rising up, and like we know what's gonna happen. It's rising up out of the grave, and then like the next scene, it's already in the car. Yeah, very weird.
And then he drives away with the back open so that the kid can jump in.
Yeah,
it's a lot of little loopholes like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the another part of the movie where the kid jumps just like head first out the back of the car.
Yeah, he's got miles an hour.
He's got the sheer force in his legs to propel him through probably a pretty strong piece of glass.
A hearse back window.
Yeah. I like the scene too has one of my favorite sound effects in the movie too, which of course I had to record. There's a moment when I thought it was actually pretty creepy where like he watches his mom go up and confront the tall man, and he just kind of like, he doesn't say anything. He just like turns his head slowly, kind of like nods towards the coffin, and then the coffin opens and she looks in and sees that that is her husband. And I was totally like, oh man, this is really creepy. And then this happens. He just goes bah, which I did not think was scary at all. Like they couldn't come up with a better zombie noise. Bah. Like maybe in that situation I would have laughed at whatever was happening. Bah. I don't know. But
they introduced there already that like now the tall man can make full size zombie servants. They don't need to necessarily be squished into Jawas first.
Yeah. Right. Well, we did kind of see it. We did see a zombie with the grandpa very briefly last movie, but we didn't see much of him, but he was there.
Did you guys get a real Deadite vibe from the zombies in the movie, from like Army of Darkness?
Yes.
It felt like that made an impression on somebody.
Well, definitely like the last movie, it had like that weird, it felt like Evil Dead to Evil Dead 2, and we talked about that specifically. And there was a part in where one of the mortuary people was putting ashes into a bag, and the bag read Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Like,
really?
It was, okay. I don't know if I didn't find out if they were friends or whatever it was, but he was certainly influenced by it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, it definitely has that vibe.
For sure.
Because you don't see it once after the opening, the Jawas don't come back, right? I don't remember. Yeah.
I almost was like, I had almost forgotten they were in the beginning because I was gonna be like, they're not in the rest of the movie, even though they kind of show up. One of them shows up on a on the table.
Brain out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
So we pick up Timmy. They kill the redneck looters.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they hit the road.
Back on the road again. They're off to go check out another
mausoleum.
Another random town, yeah.
Because that's what they do. They just go check out random mausoleums.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's unclear where these two characters, what they're doing in the mausoleum to me. Did I miss this or?
They were just
said they're trying to figure out what's going on, right?
Yeah. Their town had also been destroyed, I guess.
Okay.
And yeah, they never are like, we're trying to avenge a specific person or whatever. Yeah, they're just there to be there.
They're basically doing the same thing that Reggie's doing. They're trying to track down what the hell's happening.
Which is a cool idea.
Right.
Right? Like the idea that there's like other people having similar experiences with the tall man and then, finding each other on their journeys. I mean, it could be a cool idea.
Right.
But then they immediately dispatch one of them.
Yeah. In a basically a complete retread of the effect from the first movie, and like not as good actually.
We've seen it happen multiple times now, so it's like,
and the blood's not as forceful.
That could have been a good opportunity to showcase a new ball.
Yep. And instead, it's just the same
classic ball.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed by that for sure.
Yeah, but we get Rocky out of this, who lives and
has nunchucks.
Unfortunately, she loses one nunchuck pretty early and then only has one for the rest of the movie, which I'm like, oh man, like it would have been way cooler if she had had two nunchucks.
Here's a question. Is it nunchucks always, or is it like, what's the plural? So like nunchucks is the two on the chain, like a set of nunchucks is a nunchuck, and I don't know how that works. How you break that down?
Good
I don't know either. I gotta say, what?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I got to say that the way that Rocky shows up on the side of the road, like it's very weird because they leave Rocky at the mausoleum because like she wants to stay there and figure out what's going on, right? And then they drive away and they're driving along, and then I don't remember, but like all of a sudden they're driving by her on the side of the road. The way that she appears later in the movie like that and joins them, I thought for sure she was going to be another like tall man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that didn't end up being the case. But I was like, man, Reggie should stop trying to trust these like hot girls because they always turn out to be the tall man.
Yeah, on the side of the road that he takes to a motel and tries to sleep with. It's his move.
And I know. And then they try to kill him.
And then trusts them implicitly.
Yep. Yeah, he gets duped by.
It's good to know that he wasn't traumatized by that at all.
Yeah, he doesn't even remember it, apparently. Yeah.
Nothing seems to faze anybody, including Rocky seems to move on from her dear friends.
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's very weird. But
like, well, that's what happens when you tangle with the tall man, a person that we don't quite understand or maybe even know about yet.
Yep.
I did like though that once they figure out where they're going to go next, they mention, okay, wait a minute, this town has the largest Gothic mausoleum on the West Coast or whatever. And I was like, that's a cool idea. Like that line kind of got me excited for the rest of the movie because I was like, we had kind of accused the last movie of having a pretty standard bare bones mausoleum that was basically the same as the first one and not as cool because it didn't have all those Twin Peaks curtains. But when they said like we're going to a real,
like we got a location
mausoleum,
for this movie,
the biggest one.
So yeah, they're heading that direction.
Yeah,
which I was actually it was a cool set. Like I was curious where they shot it.
It's a location in Compton. It's the Angelus mausoleum, I guess. It looked really cool. Like
it looked great.
It looked so cool that I thought maybe it was actually in Europe because it looked very similar to a lot of places that I saw when I went to Prague a couple years ago and stuff. But yeah, it's right there. You can go see it. Lots of Phantasm fans have taken pictures of themselves in the various hallways.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we should totally do that someday if the pandemic ever ends.
Yeah. Well, we already talked about the gross hotel scene, but we do need to talk about the dream state astral plane stuff that goes on in this moment. We don't need to talk about the gross dream that Reggie's having, where he's like totally cool with Jody just watching him go to town.
Have sex with Rocky.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, what are you doing here?
Like, I don't want to disappoint the lady.
Never stops. Just that's what he says. I don't want to disappoint the lady.
Yeah, and then there's like a really weird, like Jody says, you need to get behind me, Reg.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I mean, not, you know what I mean, not get behind me, but like, agree with me on this.
And like, what is he?
Not even the dead ghost of Jody is like, no homo, you know?
It was so weird. I was like, come on. Jesus.
No, it's gross though, because she's already thwarted and resisted like one rape attempt from Reggie, the rapist. And then basically like in the dream he does it, so like the movie is still violating this woman in a gross way, and it's really gross. I don't know.
It's the thing is like in the last movie when Reggie picked up alchemy, like the tables were turned and he was like, oh, I didn't sign up for this and whatever it was, and they turned it into a joke kind of.
But at least she consented.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah. She was just like, oh, fuck it. Let's fuck around with the ice cream man. In this movie, the scene goes on too long. I think it tries to play itself as a joke and it doesn't. Although it is inherently funny that the ghost of his friend is sitting there and he's just like, oh, hey, what's up, man? But it goes on too long and it does feel it feels exploitive.
Yeah. Especially because this is like the, not annual, but every one of these movies has had boobs.
Sure.
So they're like, oh, we're gonna do it this one, but it's like it's not even like a real encounter. I don't. It's gross.
It's weird.
You would have preferred if she turned into a man and stabbed him.
Yeah.
That's always more fun.
Yeah. Totally.
Surprise man. Yeah.
Also, they when he eventually does stop and go after Jody, they have to they carry over the cut him buttoning his pants, which I thought about when they were shooting it, and they're like, remember when you come through the gateway, your pants are down. So now when we're 3 months later on the salt flats shooting this scene, we need to start with your pants off. I just love that it carried over the cut.
It was so fucking funny. It's just like, I remember that dream sequence where you were fucking fully clothed. Well, we're gonna carry over the dream logic of that as you cross over to your beach in the salt flats, where you buckle up your pants. Ridiculous.
Yeah, so they're in the salt flats, which is apparently some place he was when he was a kid. And then Jody's like, "Hey, check this out!" And he turns into a ball and opens a portal. And he's like, "Get in that light, boy."
Yeah, Jody's ball can make the lightsaber noise, which is cool for him.
Yeah. And he crawls through this blue light, and it turns out that he's suddenly in like another mausoleum somewhere.
Yep.
Where Mike is being held hostage in a box that has no oxygen.
And the tall man's all like, Mike's like, I need to get out of here. The tall man's, you know how to escape. And I'm surprised Mike's not just
believe.
Yeah, I'm surprised Mike's not just like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it, but it did seem several times that whatever's going on between the tall man and Mike, they are trying to keep in their pocket to set up for the future. And they didn't want to reveal it in this movie.
Well, certainly, because in the first movie, Mike's by himself all the time. And the tall man could have gotten him at any moment he wanted to.
Yeah.
Like what you're totally right, Eli's like this movie, like, more than the last one, you get the real sense that like, oh, they're definitely making another of these movies. This one is like not answering things on purpose.
It feels like a backdoor pilot. Like it was just like at the end of it was just like ball fighters.
And I mean, like before it was just kind of like, okay, he's coming after Mike because Mike's coming after him, you know? Right. And then second one is kind of like, okay, he's coming after Mike because Mike has special powers and can sort of see what the tall man's up to more than a normal person, which, okay, fair enough. But now it's trying to be like, he's coming after Mike because Mike's special and also used to be something.
Yeah.
Like
they have some previous relationship.
Definitely grooming him. Yeah. For something.
Yeah.
Child molestation, but I mean,
he's getting him ready. Yeah.
He's not a child anymore, but still.
He's like, remember.
The tall man was waiting. He was waiting.
The tall man's a monster, but he's not a monster.
Yeah.
Okay?
He says so at the beginning. He says, "I'll wait. Yeah. That's what when he's going to blow him up in the very beginning. Yeah.
He's like, I'll wait. Yeah, that way he's a better gentleman than Reggie. So there you go.
Definitely.
But I will say Phantasm, similar to Highlander, is like very slow to dole out its mythology.
Oh yes.
It's like they don't have much, and we're going to spread it over like 5 movies. It's a little frustrating watching it now, how little you learn about the Tall Man, about any of it.
It is really funny now that the first one was restored by Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams. It's just like, oh yeah, I see it.
It's a mystery box of a movie. Yeah.
But this one we did get more than the second one, which gave us almost nothing.
Yeah, so but did we want it?
I mean,
it's interesting.
Kind of. Yeah. So we got lots more balls.
Yep.
There are many kinds.
There's
now.
thousands
There's
of them.
thousands of them. Yeah.
This moment when we're kind of jumping around in the dream logic, but like there's a part towards the end where Mike is just laying on a bed. Not on a bed. He's laying like on a slab or whatever, and he's got one of the spheres, like the Jody sphere or whatever, on his head, like balanced, and he's like in some sort of, dream state place, and he sees the Tall Man, and they're talking in that moment when he like falls down, and above the Tall Man is all these balls.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool because like I loved when it's like that scene is like the very moment where they start laying out like, oh, the Tall Man is playing at some like way bigger game than we have even heard of or thought about. And I just thought like that reveal of like, oh shit, there's like 1 million balls and he's like gathering all these balls, the spheres or whatever, I thought was a really cool moment.
Yeah, it's definitely cool because we saw, I don't even know if we ever saw 2 balls on screen at the same time. Mm-hmm. We saw 3 balls that existed ever max that we knew of. And now, there's tons.
He's been
of
busy.
Kinds. Yeah.
But also the spheres are cool because the effect, I mean, I'm sure it's just a ball on a string that they're throwing around, but it works. And like, as far as like the visual effects go, like the spheres always look great. They sound good. They're cool. Like, I think they're one of the best parts of the whole franchise.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. And
I like that, like the Tall Man has the gold ball you find out at the end. And then there's like the Jody charred ball. I mean, that stuff is fun. I like that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out that maybe the ball is like the spheres are like the main thing that he's like working towards making in this movie.
Yeah.
Not the little like squished down people.
Yeah, the barrels were not important.
But they make it seem like he takes the bodies, squishes them down, then takes the brains out,
yep.
And maybe it's the squishing that makes the brain small enough to fit in the sphere.
That's why he uses the buckets to make the little guys.
Which is like
get their brains small.
Otherwise, the balls would just be too big and unwieldy.
Yeah.
Just seems like a crazy process. I don't know. There might be a better way. Build a shrink.
Once again, everything makes sense. It all lines up.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that he's amassing an army to take over, worlds, multiple worlds is kind of what they say in the movie.
Yeah, he said like worlds, like hundreds of different worlds and more yet undiscovered or something like that, right? Like that was cool.
Yeah, in this or any other universe in perpetuity, he's just covering all of his legal bases there.
Which, I just like that opens up a whole nother, like, oh shit, like it just makes everything so much bigger than it has been so far in these movies, which kind of excites me.
Just you wait. 4 and 5.
Oh my God.
So, yeah,
what I remember, you're in for a rad.
Oh God.
Sweet.
We get a huge confrontation in this really super cool location that we already talked about, the mausoleum there, and there's all sorts of things happening. We're getting split up.
Reggie's having sex again.
Reggie, thinks he's having sex with Rocky again, but it's just the zombie lady. The 3 zombie people are back and they're attacking everybody. We have a really lame memory clip from the first movie where Mike just remembers the time that he saw the Tall Man walk by Reggie's ice cream truck and look at him and then keep walking and to really show no emotion or discomfort of any kind. Yet Mike is like, the Tall Man doesn't like cold.
Yeah, he first just stares there and he's like, cold. And they're like, huh? What was that, boy?
It's that classic Keanu line from Constantine.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. That leap in logic does not make any sense.
He didn't look uncomfortable at all.
No.
Oh, because he continued walking the same direction he was.
No, honestly, before he said anything, like I thought that it was going to be like, oh, Reggie's the tall man, or like there's some connection there, because it was just a shot, like because it's just like Reggie's in the foreground, like loading up ice cream, wearing some dumb glasses, and yeah, it just seems like that he found that shot and we can use this, I guess.
I like
there's
that.
There's a lot of that in Phantasm. A lot of like reusing of old footage, and I know there's footage from the first movie in all of the movies that you've never have seen before, which is weird. That they shot so much stuff that didn't make it into the first movie that they had enough to add to 4 other movies.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What is it? Silent Night, Deadly Night, where the second movie is basically just a recut of the, like it has like 40% of the movie is the first movie.
Yeah.
So great. Classic. I also love that it totally makes sense that Reggie, the ice cream man, is the one to explain everybody about cryogenics.
Yeah.
All the mausoleums are getting into it.
It's the hot new thing for all these rich guys. New thing.
But I love that the cryogenic tank is full of decapitated heads. As if they're frozen. You can just put them on there. He's like, these idiots think they're going to get new bodies in the future.
It's just so funny.
I definitely don't think that's not the idea behind it. Well,
They're just,
maybe in like
they're just loose. They're just loose in a vat. No, there's a lot of really grim shit about like people getting their heads like cut off and then frozen at mausoleums, and then like power going out and them like being complete. Like it's there's a lot of like that was.
Because I always thought the thing was to freeze your whole body, and then when they have a cure for whatever you have, then you could be unfrozen.
Yeah, I mean, the science behind it is dubious at best, but a lot of them are just heads.
I just love that
they're not loose in a crock pot.
I just love that they walk up to this like Batman villain vat of like liquid nitrogen, and they're all like, "What is this?" And Reggie's like, "Cryogenics." Like he's the smartest guy.
I read about it in Mortuary Monthly.
I mean, they probably would be keeping up on the latest mortuary news. Just
that's right.
Inform their search.
Just to have a leg up on the tall man.
Yeah.
Well, so wait, was Reggie in the 2 years that he was in the coma going around and like going to mausoleums? Is that what he was doing?
Unclear. He was definitely visiting Mike.
Yeah. Okay. Selling ice cream, I suppose.
Living in yet another house with a fireplace.
Yeah.
That's all.
So you can have heart to hearts with small boys.
That's all he does. He does it again in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
I was like, there's so many like things that start to be callbacks.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the cryogenic tank is just so clearly a setup for how they're most likely going to dispatch the tall man.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's just so it's a little too set up.
Yeah.
It's just like it comes in real late, and they explain it in a way where you
would not be spending this much time and it's not even Chekhov's cryogenics tank. It's basically just like, oh, this is here.
At least they do it slightly differently. I immediately was like, oh, the tall man's going in that tank. But he doesn't actually go in the tank.
They kind of do the same thing in the previous movie with the acid vat, the pump and suck machine.
It's the airlock of the Phantasms.
Yeah.
Oh, we kind of skipped. We also got the return of pieces of the tall man that turn into like bug like
that's
creatures. Fun. That was a whole thing. We've also found out that we already said those gates could pop up anywhere, but also Reggie specifically has the power to turn them off by putting his hands on both posts.
Well, he has used a tuning fork, if you recall.
Yeah.
So he knows how a dimensional fork works.
Now, even though in the last movie it seemed like he didn't know what that was, and now this movie we flash back to that
We complained about it in the last movie, and then they brought it back in this movie, and I was incorrect to complain about it not being in the previous movie.
I do like that everyone else seems to just like walk through. Everyone else seems to just walk through the gate. And the tall man, when he comes through, he like is a little creeper. Like I'm gonna just stick my head and hands through.
As we know about the tall man, he goes arms first, like a Frankenstein, into every situation.
Yeah, and the way he's doing it means that he must have had to get on his hands and knees and just like crawl through. Like what?
Well, it's those other dimensional forks, like when it's not the one that's set, like sometimes they're at different levels.
Yeah, this is just a shorter one. I don't know.
Yeah, you just didn't take the time to level them out. It's amazing. So yeah, we do get like some awesome, like there at one point it seems like that there's like some sort of slug or snake that's trying to go up Reggie's nose. And like, what do we think would have happened if it made it up his nose? Would it have just killed him, or would they have been able to control him?
I think he probably would have just died.
Yeah, probably.
But Reggie almost gets a knife to his nuts.
Yep. I
thought that was kind of funny. When it's like crawling up his pants and he's like, I've got this. No, I've got this. And Rocky's just like, stab. The movie overall is way more comedic than the last couple.
Yeah.
It's trying to go for way more jokes than the last movie.
Yeah, it's not very scary.
No.
Unfortunately.
No. And the first one definitely is.
Yeah, I think we're coming up though on one of my favorite moments in the movie though is when Rocky and Timmy share a can of beans, and then they decide, wait, we shouldn't finish the beans. We should save some for the other guys. So Timmy walks across the mausoleum to put the cans of beans in the giant walk-in fridge, passing like corpses and Mike with a Jody thing stuck to his head. He looks at it, he shrugs, and he just keeps going.
That was great.
But he's also carrying the cans of beans in the like giant cauldron that they use to heat them up in the like furnace that they burn bodies.
Yeah, that was great.
In the crematorium.
Yeah, and they're eating with knives. Like one bean at a time, just on the tip of each of their knives.
Typical childhood stuff,
Yeah.
Every part of it was so insane. Like I was yelling at the TV. I was like, "What are they doing?"
But then and also Tim walks into the fridge and he puts the beans down and he sees that there's all these hanging bodies on meat hooks.
Yeah.
And then that never comes back into play.
No, he just goes like, like goes away.
Yeah, they even like linger on them. Like I thought for sure one was gonna like look at the camera or something, but nope, nothing happens.
Yeah, I noticed that one is actually a naked woman. So it's a second pair of boobs.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm glad that she got some beans. I mean, at least they're feeding them.
We never find out what happens to those beans, do we?
No.
They just go.
Well,
away.
That's where the next movie starts, on the beans.
Hey, it might. We don't know. Anything can happen in these movies, man. It's gonna start somewhere.
You ever do that? You ever stick a knife into a pot of beans and get a single bean?
No. Yeah, the way she
Slide
does that
between your teeth.
The way she comes out with only one bean and then says we should save the rest, I was like, that made it look like it was the last bean. What the fuck? Yeah. How long did it take you to eat half that can?
And I believe that's the only time we see them eat in the movie. Like, so they have to eat something, because otherwise that'll be unbelievable.
Yeah. Where did the beans even come from?
Oh my God.
And then that's when the redneck looters show up after dying like 3 times.
Yeah.
And getting rid. Oh, is this the car chase? Was that before or after this?
That was before. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the second time they killed him.
Yeah. When the lady gets shot in the face and run over by the car, that's a great effect.
That was hilarious.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
Another clearly a doll. I mean, obviously it's not going to be a real person going on there.
Yeah.
But it just looked really funny. The car chase with an insane car explosion is like a staple of the series. Yeah. Every one so far has had a crazy car explosion, car chase.
The Reggie's Barracuda never blows up or takes any damage, right?
No, it's magical.
It's too priceless to touch.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's technically Jody's, and then Reggie just drives it now.
Somehow they always leave it somewhere, escape in a hearse at the end of the movie, and then at the beginning of the next movie, the car's always back.
Yeah.
I love that scene when they're like in the car and they're like, I don't know where to go. Where are we supposed to go now? And then like 3 hearses go driving by, and then they're like follow them, and it's like a hearse convention. There's like 80 hearses lined up.
There's always a pink hearse in this movie now, too. They introduced that idea.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to talk about the line that Reggie says early in the movie where they're following the Jody ball and the kid's like, it's saying this or whatever. And Reggie is like, I just hope that this ball has a better sense of direction than mine.
Yeah, which was like, huh? Balls have a sense of direction?
Okay.
All right, Jody, Reggie, we get it. All you're thinking about is your dick, okay? God damn.
He's so gross. I can't even.
Yeah, I've turned the corner now, too. It's like, he's pretty gross.
That's weird because he's supposed to be our hero. He's the one character that's staying the same throughout all the movies, same actor, same character.
I mean, he's aging.
He's aging, but he's the protagonist, and they try to play it off like he should be likable and you should like him, but no.
It's weird because there's something about like the guy playing him that is kind of likable.
Yeah.
But then as like the character, he does so many stupid and shitty things.
Yeah.
It's confusing because I want to like him. Like I want to really like him. And there's times when he's charming enough and it's like, but then they always make him do such shitty things, especially when it comes to like all the women stuff. Like it's so, I mean, I don't know if that's just like things don't age, it hasn't aged well or what, but it's just, it really stands out. And
and I think I maybe this is maybe me being like, I don't know, ageist or baldest, but in the first movie, I said he looked creepy just based on the fact that he was bald and had a ponytail. He didn't really do anything that creepy in the first movie.
And he was likable, and we were like, no, like he did everything.
Yeah, and as the movies have gone on, he looks less creepy because he's aging into his baldness and the ponytail is less pronounced, and so he looks less creepy, but acts creepier every movie. It's like what's like a parabola? What's the thing I'm searching for here?
A phantasm.
Phantasm. Hold on, let me find the definition for you.
Yeah,
Phantasm.
But yeah, it's like a continuum. Is the less creepy he looks, the more creepy he acts, and there's no. You can't reach balance.
Yeah, I think that it would be if the jokes were actually funnier and they were more self-deprecating. I think that that's what they're actually trying to do. They just don't land. I think it was maybe what's going on there because I agree with Daniel. Like, I want to like him. Like, I think that he's like what he's doing is kind of fun. And like, I think that like in the content of what they're trying to do, they are trying to make him self-deprecating, but I just don't think it works.
Yeah. It's just, it always goes too far. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, hey, baby. And she's like not interested. And it's like, oh, ha. And it's another thing to like force the kid to sleep outside, get her in bed with you, and then touch her over and over and over again until she handcuffs you. And then not just dream that she's into you and she's kind of like, flirting with you or seducing you, but dream all the way into having like sex with boobs and just,
and her talking about how amazing he is in bed.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly.
Just like, oh, it's so big.
We all know it's not. So just stop.
Which is one of those things where I think that they might think that like I feel like that there's a place where maybe they thought that was funny on the page, but
well, and even after that scene, he still tries to be like, it's warmer if you sleep two people in a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
He keeps trying.
Yeah.
But Tyler, you just said there was a page. Is there a script for this movie? These movies definitely seem to be just made up as they go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What are we going to shoot tomorrow? I don't know. We'll figure it out in the morning.
It's just like, we got canceled that. I mean, it really does feel like most of these are just like, well, what can we get away with? Like, I don't know. Certainly the first one was like that.
Yeah. Well, this one, I haven't seen the second one, but this one felt much more episodic where it's like, there's the opening section, which kind of, seals up everything from the second movie. And then there's this like normal life section. And then there's the road section. And then they go to town and there's the looters and Tim. It's like, it's all kind of, feels very episodic, which I think hurts it as a whole. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it felt like a backdoor pilot, or it felt like something that, and maybe that would be more interesting. But I think that is there anything else before we get to a rating system?
We
got to talk about
how it ends. Because as we're getting to the end, the looters distract
the third episode.
Rocky and Reggie and everybody long enough that the tall man does somehow get the better of Mike while he's on this operating table. Yep. And something has been put in his head, probably
small.
Yeah. And so I think the shot at the end when Mike is going away from Reggie and confronting him and you see his eyes are all shut. That was kind of a cool.
That was a really cool effect. Yeah.
Shot and effect and idea for what it might be going on.
Yeah. His eyes looked like basically like chrome, like it looked like it was like a full eye contact of just chrome balls in his skull.
And then we get Jody again, which I maybe could have done without because he's just kind of like, well, come on, Reggie, like, blah, blah, blah.
Sometimes seeing is believing and believing is understanding or whatever the fuck he says.
Yeah, he says, don't believe everything you see.
Yeah.
And then he says, don't worry, it'll all make sense later. And
the next movie.
But I will say the very ending of the movie I think is one of the best parts, like when the kid comes out and what's his name,
Reggie
is like pinned against the wall by dozens and dozens of balls. That seemed it was like a new level of
I did like the shot too where it was like you could see him in the background through the door
with just the window and it's just his head and he looks like clearly in distress and you don't know what's happening.
And then Justin, please tell me that you pulled the tall man's last line because it's perfect for our series for sequel rights.
I mean, come on,
it's never over.
That's every franchise we've ever done. Like I almost feel like we need to incorporate that into the theme song or something.
I think we should.
It's never over. Yeah.
And then this movie ends the exact same way as all the other movies with a child being pulled through a mirror.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that kid to just be dead at the start of the next movie.
Just another Jawa eating his face on the side of the road.
I really like him, but I'm pretty sure we'll never see him again.
It also reminded me of how they just get rid of Hicks and Newt in Alien 3.
Yep.
They just open the movie and their faces are gone. And it's like caved in.
Yeah.
I guess that was like a big thing in the 90s.
Just kill people,
They wanted to explain why they weren't in the movie. So they would just unceremoniously just cave their faces in the opening because they didn't want the actors back, but they needed to address the characters.
They didn't, you know what? And that makes me upset that for the Independence Day sequel, we didn't get to see a caved in version of Will Smith's face. They just killed him off screen.
These bastards.
Actors, child star chuck in on Tim, though. So Kevin Connors, I always hate when these child stars have really generic white guy names, but he went on, and maybe we will someday watch him in Prehysteria 2.
The dinosaur movie?
I've mentioned that
the dinosaur
before.
thing. And he was also in Pleasantville. And then he went on to be like a grip and electric guy on a couple of movies, but he hasn't really done any in a while. And I'm pretty sure, but not 100% sure, that he owns an ATV parts dealership in Scottsdale.
Oh.
Sweet.
But I'm not 100% sure.
I like that when you go to his IMDb page, the photo that comes up is Rocky for whatever reason.
Yeah, it was really confusing because it's cropped badly and he's in the, like, if you click to expand, you can see him, but it's actually just a picture of Rocky.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's really funny.
They do send Rocky off, though. She gets to leave the franchise unharmed and with her face not caved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, well, like after everything that they just saw, she's just like, no, fuck that. I'm done hunting zombies. Like, and she drives away in the hearse, and then they go back inside the building when all that happens.
And she tells him, keep your balls in the air, Reg. Whatever that means.
She gives him like a pity hug, but I'm glad that she's able to leave the franchise for now without succumbing to his whatever.
Yeah, no, the pity hug is good. It's a good move.
Yeah. And she says bye to the kid. And I mean, I think like, a lot of like ethnic people or black people will tell you that like usually they don't screw around with this stuff. So it totally makes sense that she's like, I'm out of here. You white people can keep doing this, but I'm alive, so I'm leaving.
Although that to be fair, they met them in a mausoleum doing the exact same thing.
That's true.
That's true.
But I guess it is kind of unique that she gets to like leave alive, considering she's like a black woman in these horror movies, which
absolutely
normally would mean she'd be the first probably to die. And
and she was never like particularly her blackness was never really a point of the plot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and she was super cool. I mean, like, she's a pretty cool character.
She's by far the best female character that has been in this series.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the nunchucks.
So what's our rating system this time?
Oh, I think it just has to be that noise, Justin.
Which noise? This one?
You know.
Yeah. I'll try to play it. However
many times we say, however many rating, you have to hit it that many times.
Okay.
Justin, you go first.
I think I'm going to give this one 4. 4 of those out of 10. This movie is not as good. Like we mentioned, like I don't think normally I would have fun when things veer further into comedy, but I just was kind of hoping that this would continue being super creepy. And it kind of follows a little bit too much, I think, the formula of the last movie, where the last movie was really a road movie, and this kind of ends up being part of a road movie. And it does the same exact thing as what we talked about last time, where like it saves all of the story in like the last 20 minutes or something of the movie.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the movie ends up feeling like we're just kind of like padding out with random stuff before we get to reveal tiny little itty bitty things about what's happening with the tall man and everything. And I guess I was just hoping for a little bit more. But I do think what they reveal at the end of the movie is pretty interesting to me. And it does make me excited to see, where these go. It definitely leaves me interested in what's happening with Mike. And, you know, as we've seen now with 3 movies, I am definitely really interested to see how they start out the 4th movie, because this one leaves it even in more of a crazy cliffhanger than the last one. Yeah. And so far, the sequels have all been, you know, crazy in the first 10 minutes about wrapping up whatever was happening in the previous movie. So that'll be fun to see. But
we gotta let Reggie age significantly at some point, right?
I mean, he's already.
I'm too old for this shit.
That was the only other thing I had pulled. He's already getting too old for this shit. But I mean, that's true. I think it's cool that they brought back all the original actors, even if they're not the best actors. I think it's.
Oh my God, you guys! I just saw something amazing about this movie.
What?
This movie?
No, the next movie.
Spoilers.
Don't tell us. How dare you?
Right.
Well, no, I will do our ratings. And then when we're talking about it, I feel like it can't be disclosed.
Okay, I'm going to do my rating. Justin, give us this many. That's 5 bads.
All right.
So I liked this one more than 2, I have to say.
Oh.
I liked the kid, despite, you know, it's one of those things where in sequels, I'm like, yeah, I know what you're doing, because I've seen so many sequels at this point, but I'll allow it, you know. Same thing with Rocky, you know, she is the best female character we've had, and I appreciated that. So I liked those 2 additions, and I liked that we got more mythology about the tall man, the Jawas, the spheres, the whatever's going on here, and some setup for something with Mike. Even though I think maybe some of it could have been done better, I at least appreciated that it was there, because in the second movie, I just feel like it was such a waste of time. I don't know. And yeah, I mean, all the balls and everything are cool, and there's still a lot of cool melty skin and gross stuff, and yeah, lots of cool things.
Yeah, the effects are awesome in this movie, as they always are. I think I'm gonna go 4 as well.
What, do you think I wasn't going to do it?
4 blah. I like that there was some more world building, I suppose you could call it that, at the end in the past 20 minutes. I did like the dream logic stuff is getting a little strained, although I do love, as Daniel pointed out, that they carried the crosscut over him buttoning up his pants between dream domains. That's just amazing. And And like there's some cool stuff going on. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I thought that having named zombie antagonists, or not named, but at least they have faces instead of just the Jawas, made it more interesting. I thought that they made them more villains. I thought that was an improvement. And having the original actors back, it's fun. Like it was kind of disappointing to knowing that it was this small kind of indie thing that he put together. It was kind of confusing why they weren't back, and I'm excited to see what happens next, I suppose.
Daniel, what about you?
Well, before I give you my rating, I think the reason why in the second one it's a different actor is because the second one got distributed by Universal.
Yep, that's correct.
And they wanted a real actor in the movie.
Yeah.
In quotes.
Yeah,
and so I know that
they wanted somebody that could like have a romantic connection with a girl, and they didn't feel like that other actor could. I don't know.
Yeah, and so I think from what I've heard is that like Reggie, Jody, Mike, and the director, Don
C.
Don Coscarelli.
I think they're all buddies, and they just like making these movies together, and like that's really awesome. The fact that like this group of friends got to make, these super weird movies. I mean, say what you will about them, like they're unique. You never really know where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're I don't know. They're special in their own way. They're not necessarily good, but. And so this is my rating. 4 bars. Because I mean, I think there's a lot of great ideas, moments, maybe a stretch, but like shots or, little beats here and there are cool. And there's enough, I mean, the spheres, like, I just like the world. I like the mythology. I like the dream states. I like the tall man. Angus Scrimm's tall man is always great. And so there's enough in it that is likable, but it's just not necessarily a good, complete movie experience, unfortunately. But I still like it. I still dig it. It's one of the few action horror franchises that is does its own thing, and it's unique. I mean, I also really like Don Corsichelli's John Dies at the End.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh yeah.
That one's really fun too. Another like ultra indie, tiny little movie that you could definitely see its what do you call it, seams here and there, but there's something sincere in these movies, in all his work. I think Bubba Hotep too, that works, and despite the creepiness of Reggie and whatever else, like there's enough weird humanity in them that comes through. So. Unfortunately, it only gets 4 bars though.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like I totally agree, and it's amazing that it's these friends that have got to make these movies, and like you can never call him out for making an uninteresting choice or trying to do something that's not like it's these movies aren't compromising.
Yeah,
sure.
There's nothing conventional about them or generic.
Like the only thing that's compromised is what they can do for the budget. I mean, and
it was like. Whatever shortcomings they may have in their dealings with how they portray women, based on like what year this came out and whatnot. When I first saw 2 black characters on screen, I was kind of like, okay, is this good? Or is this like going to be like a Leprechaun in the Hood type situation where they're really stereotypical and bad? And they didn't go that way. I mean, it just could have been
and it definitely deserves credit for that, for what was happening in movies at that time, especially horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so what's the next one called and how many years?
So it's 1996. So it's 2 years afterwards. It is called Phantasm Oblivion, and it is the 4th movie, which means the I and the V are in Oblivion.
Oh, love that.
That was the thing I got excited about. I was like, oh shit, that's the best use of Roman numerals in a sequel I think we've had on anything that we've covered.
Yeah, well, we called out Fichens for putting a little bold shine on the V in Dragonheart Vengeance.
That's right.
Remember?
Yes.
I always love a Roman numeral inserted in the title.
Oh yeah.
Or really any number inserted.
That's right.
In a title is good.
Like Splash 2.
Oh yeah, Splash also.
Splash also. Oh. Yeah, well, what do you guys think? What kind of thing can we dream up for the start of the next movie?
It's a Battlestar Earth scenario where they go through a portal and fight the tall man on his own terms.
So Mike wandered off in the darkness of a cemetery. Yep. Tom, or was it Tom or Tim? Tim got pulled out of a window.
Yep.
And Reggie was left hanging on the wall with a bunch of balls.
Yep. Well, Reggie will be
never
fine.
see Tim again. That is yeah. I mean, well, he'll be unceremoniously killed in the two first.
Tim will also
have. We get to see his face caved in, at least.
Yeah, he'll just be another head that the tall man is holding.
It'll be in the cryo crock pot.
Yeah.
I Rocky will come back.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Reggie's gonna escape somehow. I don't know how though.
Well, he'll be like balls in the air. Balls in the air.
Balls
the
in
air.
The air. He's gonna remember back.
I would jump up and down and scream if he used the beans to fight them off.
Oh wow.
Yeah, maybe we're gonna see the tall man's plans finally come to fruition here because he's off to destroy worlds and it's called Oblivion. So maybe we're gonna see some end times kind of stuff in the next one.
We shall see.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to bring us to the end of this week's episode. Daniel, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, guys. Always great.
Where can people find your new graphic novel, Raiders, if they want to check it out and follow you online?
Yeah, so Raiders is available everywhere. Amazon, Target, Walmart, online, also stores, Barnes & Noble. If you want to go out and get it at your local comic shop, that's the best way to support the comic shops because they need the support.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it's available everywhere. And otherwise, you can find me on Instagram at not Daniel Freedman. So
tricky.
Just to make it easy.
Well, thanks for being here. And Eliz, where can people reach out to us?
Yes, you can send us an email, sequelrights@gmail.com, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts when you get the chance. And Justin, what do we always say here at Sequel Rights?
Well, you know what? Thank God.
It's never over.
See you guys next week.